Being 7 o'clock, I call the Lisle Library District Board meeting for December 11, 2019 to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bortelli.
Present, here, sorry.
Thomas Duffy.
Present.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Karen Larson.
Here.
Jenny Norton.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Present.
I'm Lisa Stack.
Here.
All right, next item on the agenda is opportunity for visitors to speak. Would anybody like to speak? All right, there you go.
President Hummel, thank you for the opportunity to address the board this evening. I attended last week's presentation by PMA Securities and CCS with great interest. I have to admit I was surprised now to present plans with estimated cost less than $9 million, even including the plan that doesn't actually add any additional space, just kind of shuffles it around a bit. None of these estimates were the full estimated cost, of course. According to the PMA presentation, the interest paid on the money borrowed would add $1 to $2 million to the actual cost to the library and its taxpayers. But troublingly, none of these plans came within 80% of the 2016 Engberg-Anderson analysis of the minimum amount of space that they suggested was needed to meet the needs of the library. And no plan came within 67% of their recommended space. As a reminder, 2016's estimate ranged from a minimum of 45,000 square feet to a recommended size of 53,000 square feet. But I realize that the only thing you can usually get two consultants to agree on is that that third one over there is wrong. So perhaps CCS is right and Engberg-Anderson is wrong about our needs. But look at some of Lisle's peer libraries, which have recently undergone their own construction activities, such as Geneva or Lisle. Neither of them use Engberg-Anderson to develop their estimates of needed space. But both of those new libraries, one still under construction, the other just completed, are more than 60,000 square feet, exceeding the Engberg-Anderson estimates of our needs by a healthy margin. Both Geneva and Lake Villa, these estimates are available online if you want to compare the methodologies with Engberg-Anderson's. So at this point, I think you have a bit of a dilemma. Some taxpayers will see any expansion or renovation of the library as an unnecessary boondoggle, whether it's $5 million or $10 million or $15 million. Others may have a more nuanced perspective on this, and while they support the library and would like to see it positioned to serve the community better, will see spending this much money on a project that falls so short, either compared with our own aspirations of just a few short years ago, or with actual libraries built by peers like Geneva or Lake Villa, as being a poor use of public money as well. But I was disappointed with the options the board was presented with too. CCS presented what you asked them to present. But if the board is planning on spending that much money, I would expect it to investigate all options, including the possibility of building another building on land it already controls. I'm not necessarily advocating for that option, but I think it's hard for this board to go to the public and say, we want to spend a significant amount of money, but we didn't want to bother investigating a third obvious option for improving the library's physical facility. It is worth pointing out that the last time the library board seriously investigated major renovations back in 2004, it investigated both two different plans for renovating this facility, as well as building a new one directly to the east. I attended those meetings, and I will say it was interesting to see how board members' perspectives changed during the presentation of those three options. The board had started by initially planning only an addition to the existing building. However, once they saw the costs of renovating both the direct costs and indirect costs, like trying to operate a library in a construction zone with more than half the existing facility offline at times, constantly moving collections and equipment clear the way for the next phase of construction, the value of an all-new building with a new elevator and new air handlers and a floor plan unburdened by compromises with the past made more sense. Often low cost isn't the same as good value, and the cheapest thing is rarely the best value. As I mentioned, I attended those meetings back in 2004 and have brought copies of portions of the architect's proposal from them here if you or your colleagues are interested. Hopefully the library still has that proposal on file somewhere too. The drawings of the various plans are interesting but not really relevant to what you're doing. However, I found that option matrices, which are at the top, quite interesting, particularly in terms of describing what building attributes make for efficient, high-functioning space. For example, long, narrow buildings tend to have long corridors, which aren't useful space. Or discussing some of the costs of multi-phase renovation to an existing building. One other thing. I think the board needs to be extremely certain of the library's present and future space needs if it is contemplating the downtown option. In the sort of shared space that will entail, I suspect the space you'll get at the beginning is the space you'll have for the next 30 years. without a serious possibility of expanding significantly in the future. Again, the space provided by the largest CCS plan is not even 80% of Amherst's minimum space recommendation. So if you have any doubts about whether the space prescribed by the CCS plan will be adequate for the next 30 years, I hope you'll decline pursuing downtown. Thank you again for the opportunity to address the board, and the material I've mentioned, I'll pass along here. Thank you.
Just give it to staff, and then they can make copies for us, and we can all get.
Thank you.
There's enough copies for everyone.
Oh, okay.
For all
perfect.
board members.
Oh, perfect. All righty, anybody else? Okay. Next item on the agenda is or just for comment, is assignments for reviewing monthly accounts payable. This month, Treasurer Norton and Trustee Duffy reviewed the November billings. Next month, Trustee Norton's up again, and Trustee Larson will review the December billings in January. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to pull off the consent agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
For a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or discussion or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swistek,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Thomas Homa.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item is committee reports. Finance, any reports?
Nothing new.
Okay. Personnel policy.
Nothing at this time, but I'm hoping to schedule a meeting sometime, maybe January, February. We've had a lot going on recently, so
Sure. Absolutely.
lets the dust settle a little bit.
There we go. Physical plant. Anything?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time. Okay. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and this will be the continuation of the LLD facility options. This is for the board to review of the December 2nd special meeting documentation and provide direction regarding potential downtown option discussions with relevant entities. This is for board discussion and thoughts, after, like I said, reviewing the documents that we received last week and Friday, I believe, as well. CCS is here, Bart Rogers is here to answer any questions. So, how do you want to, do you have anything you want to state first, or just
I can go up for questions, but then if there's any discussion
Okay.
that wants to be added on previous plans or else, I'm
All
aware of that
right,
too.
so
I have a
trustee
question.
Bartelli.
If you could just clarify for me, the pro forma examples that you provided,
Yes,
and then the order of magnitude,
yes.
the numbers don't add up. Let's just take the first,
Which one on top?
this is downtown build out, 30,000 square feet.
Okay.
Just the front page there.
Yep,
Your total there is 1996,356.
yes,
If you go to the order of magnitude for
right.
that section, I came up with 10,216,231. I added all of your subtotals.
Well, that's, you're talking to the,
That'd be the 30,000 square feet. If you,
I'll look at these, but what I'm looking at, the subtotal page would be for that option.
well, I had three totals for the magnitude. Construction, I don't know if you want the figures, I have 65, 79. If you page
Yes, that's
back, on
correct.
page 5,
Yep,
would you like the page number?
6579, correct, yes.
So page 5 is 65, 79, 231.
Yes,
Page 7, 3,572,000. Page 11, 65,000. If you total that, it comes to 10,216,231. So the total,
do you mind if I come to see?
no, not at all.
So I'm thinking what it is you're actually adding in the 3% owner contingency on the bottom of each
Okay.
performance pages?
Sure, could be.
Let's see.
So
the only-
page 5, we have this total.
Right.
Okay. Then page 7,
So that is the only total for all of this.
So that.
No, so then
I'll show you how that
you have
works.
another total here, total core shell.
That is the core and shell, which plays into, I'll show you on the summary.
Okay,
So in the summary, when you look at, here, this page, where you have roofing, you have exterior closure, superstructure, substructure, foundations, those are all core and shell numbers.
okay, but why would
So
you,
that
why would you have a
3.5
total of this number?
So this number right here
Yes.
is your overall summary. So right here, when it goes from Division 01, these are CSI, Construction Specification Institute divisions.
Well, these
01
specifications
through
continue
13.
the number though.
Yeah, so they continue to there. If you
Okay.
total all of those up, you get to the 6.5 and
Well,
change number.
What are these numbers then?
So that is all,
I'm sorry, I don't
no, that's
quite
fine.
follow.
These are all, Harold, do you mind if I do this for you?
No, no,
So everyone, I don't know if you're following along or not, but basically when you're looking at this pro forma, so I'll show you this. This is just your construction cost, and there's some different breakdowns in here. The first page is obviously just flipping through. These are the first two pages, are clarifications. It basically says what's in there. The next pages, which is page 4 and 5, are the summary of the full packet. Then going on to 6 is a breakdown of that same summary. 7 is a breakout. If I'm just looking at the core and shell, this is how our parametric estimate builds this. It's how we do it without plans and walls, everything else. We're just identifying what is in the core and shell on this page. So this page is adding up, okay, and this is how we track also for, say we get down into design, you have a designer, what the assumptions are in this. So this is saying there's no basement assumed in the project. That's for the basement excavation. There's, you're going down the line, just going through foundation, wall, and footing. We don't have anything in there. But you do have slab on grade. We're assuming 5-inch thick slab on grade, aggregate finishing. We have a little bit of that because we're going to have to put a concrete slab down in your new renovation. So that number, that 330,000, directly ties up to the 330,000 on page 4, which is under Division 2. So that's why the pages 4 and 5 are simply summaries of the whole thing, of construction cost. Then this page 7 is a core and shell breakout. That's what the shell cost is here.
So you don't want to add all of them.
You don't add them all up. And then everything behind that is all the interior build-out pieces, and that's all the data that makes up the other divisions that are in the summary. So the only number that we're taking out of this estimate, which is one full estimate, a whole breakdown,
where is the 9296356?
this is the overall summary. So what happens is this number that's here, the 6579, which is your overall summary of this construction cost, goes into page 2. Excuse me, I'm shuffling around. I hope you don't mind. You can kick me out if you need to. Goes into in the back end where it says construction cost. It's paper clipped in here right there.
Okay,
65729.
all right.
And then when you add up all the other construction
Right,
costs,
yeah,
that gets to the 6867. That 6867 gets carried into the front. So these are all, basically what we want to do is always provide a summary, high-level details, and then give all the backup behind that. So that's what we're doing here. This is a summary, just like pages 4 and 5 are for the construction cost. Page 1, the performance, is always a summary. The information behind that is what feeds into that summary. So that's where the 6867 ties out to the 6867 on building costs. The 1013 on the next page, not including contingency, ties out to the 1013 on the first page. Because you can see contingency is all below the line. I didn't want to double up contingency on you when we're getting too conservative. Again, without contingency, your 995 on the next page ties up to 995 on the first page. So it's always providing the backup and feeding up into the summary. So that should be the same for all, it's the same pattern for all of these.
okay.
Does that somewhat answer your question, or?
Yes, it does, but for my benefit, when I see these totals, you identify it as a total for something. Construction cost,
Right. Core and shell cost.
core and shell. So if you were looking at a normal spreadsheet and you've got different totals in a column, it makes sense to add those up and get a grand
Grand
total.
total, yeah, and that's probably
For someone
what we
who's
can
not
do.
an accountant
Yeah.
or used to this.
We can go to grand total for that project cost and call that a grand total. That's what the grand
Yeah,
total
maybe
is.
just a little better, a little improved
Yeah.
labeling.
Sure, we can bold those labels a bit more.
On page 11,
Yes.
it says total, but that's actually not a,
That is your site improvement total.
okay. Do you see how you have it labeled here?
Project costs?
Yeah. And yet you don't have this labeled total,
We can add that in the
Site
final binder for sure, as a site improvement. And then this number will tie up to over here, site improvements,
oh,
65,000.
now I get it.
Yep, so all
But-
of them tie up, but we can add that, so there's total site improvement there. And
That
be
would
clear as
help
day.
if the columns, you know, were all labeled similarly.
No problem at all.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? All valid questions.
Thanks.
This is a learning exercise.
No,
I'm not
that's the
taking
only
offense
one I
to
had.
anything. Take away at it.
No, that's
please.
good, I mean, that was, unfortunately, I left the one.
Would you like to look at
Well, I
it?
have my notes in there, so I'm just
I'll
gonna go
share.
off the recall.
Do you want?
At least as far as the, no, I'm just, there in the, especially for the existing building, I think he had like $900,000 for HVAC, and at first I was confused about that, because that's just for the,
Yes, and once you take down those walls, everything's going to be rerun.
Okay.
New dampers, fire suppression, and there's a lot, and our controls especially, is going to be a significant cost. So that would not be taking out, and we'd be reusing the work that you're doing right now to replace everything.
okay, so what we're doing now is, I mean, the 900,000 separate of that, though. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I'm like, I didn't know if you were counting what we're doing, but that's like the vents and all that?
Yes, it's all the diffusers and ductwork, the controls outside of your air and use for being improved.
And then I think too, there was $100,000 for elevator, is that, and I know we just placed it, are we, is that in there for?
That's an allowance to see if you need it upgraded, if it is fully upgraded.
Yeah, we just did that
Fully
in the past year, not even.
So it's
Within a
completely
year.
code, you
Yeah.
don't have any
Yeah,
issues
so
with
that
that.
one, then we don't, okay, so
Yeah,
that's-
we can take a look at that, pulling that out.
All right, that's fine. Trying to think. Anybody else got a question or comments? Discussion, or not, just a question or comments, probably staying in the reports or any decipher what is in the reports. How do
When
you
does
feel?
CCS go before the Planning and Zoning Commission?
We won't, so we
So
don't,
when does Flaherty and Collins go
Next one.
before them?
they're on the docket, I believe, for next week.
Next Wednesday,
Yeah.
so,
And what's involved?
Uh,
What happens when they go?
So when they go, they're going to present their plans. As of right now, we have not given them the okay to share the live copy or anything else.
yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second, but we gotta make it, not a decision, but just a direction on that.
I've had 3 people come to me and accuse the library of doing things that are sneaky and Marquette-like because we're not posting in our packets anything from CCS.
I know this just got posted this afternoon or late morning, right?
Yeah.
Was this the one?
It was
Yeah,
posted.
So probably this was posted or what was?
No,
The order of magnitude was posted this morning,
Okay.
yes.
but everything else was posted with the packet.
Okay.
It's in the packet?
Yes.
I actually did check it too, just for us meeting, and we went and saw all of our.
Okay, so the original presentation is in there?
Yes.
And then the performa piece is in there?
Yes.
And then this is in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't
Okay.
recall, but I do know that.
It's all in
information
there.
We were here, what were the numbers?
And there's
They're in
notes indicating when they were updated.
I think
Okay.
I think you're thinking of some stuff from last Monday's meeting
Yeah.
when we were given some stuff at the meeting and those got uploaded, I think, the next
next day.
morning.
Yeah.
Because we
Okay.
didn't have them from CCS yet and then they got uploaded the next
Right.
day. So I think that's what you're talking about.
I don't, they just are
Oh.
sending me these emails, so
Okay.
I don't know when they looked.
Okay.
So
We've been
I,
updating them as we receive them.
okay. Okay, that's great, because I just don't want to have to answer those types of questions. So that's great.
So, does anybody else have any questions or comments on the materials for starters? I just want
We're not going to talk about any of this.
to,
Not that I want to, I'm just asking a question. Are we solely talking about?
I would prefer to stay on that, but
Okay.
if you have a question on this, I mean, if
No,
Mark, I mean, he could try to answer that, PMA stuff, you got questions? You could try
No,
to.
it's just a, I don't know what to call it, a suggestion. Let's let it go for now.
Okay.
You want me to say just a general statement real quick about this whole kind of exercise?
Yeah, sure,
Sure.
go ahead.
That's okay, so I
Yeah.
help out kind of.
Yeah, go for it, go for it.
So what we are tasked at doing here is really coming up with a what-if type situation for the board to have an understanding of how to move forward next, with whatever situation you're going to find yourselves in. One of those options was a potential move downtown with a potential developer, be it developer A, B, or C. So that's, and going back to the public comment, sorry, going back to some of the public comment, part of our exercise wasn't to do a space needs analysis or anything like that. Really, when a lot of the times that happens, look at this big number, right? This 48,000 square foot number, 60,000 square foot number, 90,000 square foot number. We've seen 90,000 square feet from libraries from different planners come back and forth. And while they might be valid, and we've seen that a lot, we're not designers, they are. At the end of the day, someone's got to pay for that. And so that's the payment portion always that when that follows, the library might spend a bunch of time and money on those designers, and they come up with a 90,000 square foot plan, but you can't afford it. And so what we really want to do here is just that kind of a ground level of, okay, this is what we have right now. This is kind of the equivalent of what we want to do in terms of square footage, and it can go up or down from there. And it really is depending on falling what does the library want to spend. So after hearing public comment, if the library goes, you know what, we do want to invest more money, and we want a bigger library, well then that decision can be made. Whereas conversely, if you say, you know what, this is great, but we want to maybe keep our footprint and spend a little bit less money, we can figure out ways to do that with you as well. It's just, this is kind of a starting point, your ground footing, to know where you can go up or down from there. From that, and then even talking about PMA, what they tried doing is giving a few different options for where you can pull funding from. I think the biggest takeaway that I got out of the presentation was that any of those options don't actually increase the tax, in the alternative revenue bonds, do not increase taxpaying, the taxpayers' dollars. They're working within your existing budget to pay back that debt or the bonds.
As long as you don't borrow more than 4.385 million.
Yes, that is correct.
That is
and it's actually how much you're spending per fiscal year, basically, right? You want to make sure that you're staying within that budget.
299,000.
There you go. So depending on how much money you can get for that, that means there's no increase on taxpayers. Or conversely, if you needed to go and get more money, then you are looking at increases. So there's a lot of options out there. Is really where the heart of it. And so it's really just sort of determining how much money you want to spend and where you want to spend that money. Do you want to spend it here or there or where else? And what we really get out of comparing the shell and core, I'll call it the no-cost shell and core for a downtown, is you get a lot of bang for your buck doing that. You know, whether it's the right fit or not is solely up to you, but you get a lot of bang for your buck for that. So,
And that's still just for starters.
exactly. So, does that kind of help frame
Yeah.
the context?
So we could follow up on that, and we could discuss more obviously too, but just as Trustee Larson did mention, next Wednesday, December 18th, Flaherty and Collins is on the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda for the concept review, I believe only. So does the board agree that the director can contact Flaherty and Collins and let them know that they may include the library in a strictly conceptual plan for discussion with the village, understanding that discussion and negotiations between Flaherty and Collins and the library continue, along with discussion about our current building as well. So we're not committing permanently or long-term to anything with Flaherty and Collins, but at least we're willing to say, yes, we are interested in being in part of the mixed-use development with Flaherty and Collins, so when they come before the Planning and Zoning Commission next Wednesday, they can say the library, you know, in their concept, then they'll have the library there. Now, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed, or it doesn't mean we're moving there, but it's just for the, go ahead.
But isn't it contingent on the village funding the parking garage?
Correct, so, I mean.
So if the village says,
And-
scrap that, then it's like, it's
Well,
dead in the
I think
water?
that's what's good. I mean, we should see we take the temperature where the village is at now. This is still only a concept plan. This is not, it's not the official plan or the hearing, like public hearings there would be. And, I mean, you could probably
Yeah,
explain
no,
this,
yeah.
why don't you go? You got
No, you hit
expertise.
it on the head. They have not submitted a formal application for PUD, which is plan unit development, which is what they do in this instance. This
So what is a
just concept.
PUD?
Plan unit development, they'll come in and they want to take over a whole site. Even a developer with a subdivision would do the same thing. What they're doing is they're going in front of the zoning commission and saying, we want to get a mixed use or multiple buildings or whatever it is on their site, and we want to get that approved instead of, if it's zoned right now for an office building, let's say, that means you can put an office building in there for X amount of square feet with X amount of setbacks. It's, but if you're doing a whole big development, a PUD process is simpler because you can get the whole development on one application, get it all reviewed at the same time, and know how it's moving forward. So there's no formal application at this point. What they're doing is, and what the village did, I want to say a year ago,
2 years ago.
2 years ago maybe, is they put in that concept, and we've seen this in other villages too, where the developer can come, before they sink in about 6 figures into figuring out the concept to a formalized engineered standpoint, to actually submit an application formally, look at the temperature. They want to get the temperature of the zoning committee. They also, or commission, and they'll also want to usually talk to some of the elected officials and see what their temperature is on, for instance, incentives, you know, whether it be a parking garage incentive or a tax incentive or something of that. They want to see if they need to go and spend the money on engineering that whole thing to go in for a formal application. And they'll make a decision at that point whether it's yes or no.
So in terms of them presenting this to planning and zoning with this concept, what in addition besides the retail? Are they talking condos? Are they talking more apartments? How many stories?
They have not shared that with us
Yeah,
yet.
that's what we're all gonna probably find out on Wednesday.
On the 18th?
On the 18th, so you can watch Channel 10 at 7 o'clock or on YouTube, the live stream.
Or be at Village Hall. We don't know.
I kind of went to their site today to see what other things that they've done throughout the country. So
It's a very, they have a very.
it's varied by, you know, region, by state, what they do.
Right.
So
And so really what this would be is Chairman said, is they're looking to see, you know, it sometimes is a stronger case for a developer to come and say, hey, we at least have some traction with tenants, whether it be owners or tenants, but else they'll have a little bit more traction saying, and more comfort saying, some people we're at least talking to. I think what the library is asking now is, can we at least tell them that they can talk about the library being potentially involved? It's not committing to anything. It's truly just saying, we're in discussion with the library, and this is kind of a space that might be carved out for them or not, might go to someone else. But at least that way, if they are going to be asking something from the village, which we're all assuming that that is the case at some point, they know kind of what's all in the deck of cards.
but that would be down the road.
They'd have to bring up.
They have to bring up
They
the
don't have to
parking
bring it, but
garage.
should say, it'd be in their best interest to bring up what the village.
What
the
they
rest of
want
village-
from the
Otherwise, they're
village.
gonna spend that money to develop this application and not know if the village is gonna do anything for them.
Well, I've watched some of these PNC conceptual reviews, and the first thing they will jump all over these people will be, well, what are you doing about the parking? So I think it behooves Flaherty and Collins or any developer to talk to the village actually before they have that meeting, because there are some people on that committee that their first thing is gonna be
That's,
parking.
I'm sure that's up to them. I'm sure they'll ask that. I'd be willing to put a lot of money on that's gonna happen. Trustee Bartelli, you got a question?
Yes. CCS will not be involved at the PNZ meeting, is that correct?
No, so you all know I am on the PZC.
Yes, that
will-
was my next
I will be
statement.
excusing
So you're
myself
on
from
the
any of those
PNZ.
conversations. I'll be sitting in
Okay.
the audience.
Flaherty and Collins is presenting.
Yes.
If and when it gets to a point, let's just say we go further with this, and you are asked to vote,
I cannot vote.
You cannot vote.
No,
You
he's
recuse
told
yourself.
that I will not vote. I will be
Okay.
abstaining from any of the discussions. I won't even be standing on the podium at that point,
So-
to go sit down.
But the 18th is strictly Flaherty and Collins
Yes.
and the Village P&Z.
And you,
Well,
I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, so I will be there, but I will not be there on behalf of.
You'll be there as part
I'll
of the
be
commission.
there as a, no, I won't be as a commissioner
You will
for that
not, so
discussion.
you're
I will
totally-
be in the state,
Yeah,
in the
he's
stands.
You're
abstaining.
recusing
He's
yourself.
tired.
Yeah, he's
okay.
abstaining
Yeah.
next Wednesday.
There could be other presentations on the agenda.
Oh, those I would,
Right.
Yeah, anything that's
Oh,
not involved
Oh,
with the
yeah.
library,
Yeah.
I could be up there for, just to be clear, but anything that has anything to do with any discussions that I've had.
Okay, thanks.
And if you, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I just was gonna, and it's just that we are just discussing the remote possibility that
Correct.
this would happen. Like, it's
Correct,
not
yes.
anything set in stone.
Nope.
Now, there'd be no official agreement or even draft agreement.
So we're not signing anything,
No.
even though they call it a letter of intent. There is no letter.
Yeah, we're not, what we're asking the board, I think
Yeah.
what President Hummel was asking is if the board agrees that we connect with Flaherty and Collins and let them know that we're open to discussion and they can include the library as part of a conceptual plan to present to PZC. That's what we're asking.
It's just
And we're not-
really-
We're not
really-
signing any letter.
It's really odd for them to call it a letter of intent,
When there's no.
when there's no, I mean, there's no letter of intent.
Well-
For those of us who have worked with letters of intent, you usually
Just-
sign
and
one.
Be careful with that going because of executive session, so we're
Oh.
we're
Be very
okay, we're
careful.
okay, but
So we're
we're
just-
getting close to the line.
We're
so.
just sending a statement to Flaherty and Collins, letting them know they may use the library as part of that concept
Okay,
for
sorry.
discussion purposes.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
To answer your question, President, well, I want more information. I have no problem with putting us into their conceptual review and see what the village comes back and says, and then we go from there. I mean, there's nothing, as long as I think I don't think I brought this up, as long as there's nothing that we're signing or anything like that, or like we're in on this, but just, hey, we're part of this conceptual idea. What are your thoughts? Because if we are not, and then they get something else, then we took an option off the table in our review.
So, is that, so just to take a quick, trustee Swistack, are you good with?
I'm
just-
good with that.
I just want to put it in my own words,
Sure.
and then if that's not what we're trying to agree on, tell me what we're trying to agree on, and I'll try to understand it. But to me, it just comes down to, are we willing to allow a developer to name us in their concept, which is not binding in any way, is not telling anyone of the library board's current appetite for that being an option, just simply saying we're giving them permission to name us in one of their ideas. Nothing more, nothing less, as opposed to shutting it down on the face and saying, nope, don't even include us as a possibility. That's what we're deciding?
Correct, yep.
Cool. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay, and I'd like to add to that, which we've heard before from Tatiana, our director, that Flaherty and Collins came to the library. Is that correct? They approached us.
Yes, they did.
The library did not go out and seek this arrangement, and I think it behooves us to at least explore it.
Trustee,
I'm good.
good. Trustee Larson?
I'm not.
No, okay.
No.
Trustee Sullivan, you're good? All right, and I agree with moving forward, so, so we'll do that. Just like we said though, Trustee Larson, we're not committed, so this is just one step in the process. We might, it's not a done deal by any stretch, so.
The other thing I wanted to
Sure, go ahead.
mention is if you cannot access YouTube or anything and can't attend on December 18th, they do post those videos from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So you can go on the village website, you can look under P&Z, they do videotape and post them. And you can actually sign up, like I get an email every time one is posted. And that just reminds me to go in and, watch it when I'm doing something else and listen and watch half and half.
Are we going back into the presentation
Oh, yeah,
topic
I'm
again?
sorry, I was gonna say.
I didn't know if
any
we,
other-
we sort of
I'm sorry, yeah. I
carved
kinda-
out
I'm
into
sorry.
the F&C
We could go
aspect.
back, do you wanna go back to the?
Well, I didn't know if we finished
No,
it.
they were good for that part, so
Okay.
you got questions, any other questions, trustee Norton?
Just a confirmation of the observation. It's not a coincidence that the contingency on all four scenarios comes to 17%. And none of them are more or less, like the contingency section on each one, the percentage of total on all four
On
of
the
them.
construction costs,
Yeah,
yes. The reason that is we usually set at a conceptual level, a contingency percentage, because you don't have any design, we have no design. So literally as we kind of hit this before, as we go through design, that
Yep.
percentage will come down
Yeah.
more details in there, so we get to figure out.
right,
the
but
details.
that was a universal assumption applied to all four.
Yes.
Thank you.
On the construction side, yes.
Any other questions, comments on the material from CCS?
I don't think it was in scope. I just want to kind of say I'm curious that, you know, when you're comparing options of existing footprint versus move to a different location entirely, we have to remember that we own this space, and if we vacate it, it should have more than zero value associated with it that would be calculated somehow into the overall
Correct,
picture.
absolutely.
Just sort of
Absolutely.
spitballing that.
Right.
Because I,
Very, very good point. So, are you and Mark gonna contact Flaherty and Collins?
Yes, we
Okay,
will.
so, and then Wednesday's planning and zoning, we'll see how that goes, and, regardless of how it goes, we'll obviously be talking about what we wanna do going forward, probably every meeting for the foreseeable future. Maybe even depending on how things go, there could be special board meetings, I'm sure, maybe, in the next.
which is it, Tom?
I know, I didn't want to overcommit, but probably there, I'm sure there will be some, I did it again. Special board meetings maybe throughout.
You can just say there will be a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. So,
how
yeah,
we
the
finish our
bare
meeting.
minimum, we'll be talking every board meeting about the facility.
We're on the personnel
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
We're used to a lot of meetings.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Hey, we haven't had one in a month.
All right, if that, is there something you
Do you
want?
want to talk about the bound copy
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
sorry.
before we say thank you?
So as long as I sufficiently explain
No, not that.
how the numbers work, and we're comfortable with that, what CCS will do is we'll take all these numbers, we'll put it into one final report, and we'll put it in as kind of a milestone, or just kind of a snapshot of where we're at today. We'll put that in a binder, we'll also put a cover page on there, kind of explain some of the options we went through, and bind it, get it to Tatiana. And that would be for your record. If you need further assistance or whatever else, please don't hesitate to reach out to Tatiana. She can get us from there.
Yeah, and you'll make some modifications. I know that trustee
I
Sullivan.
will
mentioned
add
those.
those titles to submit the top and bottom so they match.
Would there be electronic copy?
Yes.
So if, once you
We'll put
get
it all together, put it up.
Maybe one file, one,
Yep.
one piece.
You can just put it on the website.
And actually, maybe, I know I talked to Beth, our assistant director, about this, is if we're going to start, and to satisfy some of the public's interest in our discussions, maybe start a page that has some documentation and kind of chronology. Because I imagine, as you mentioned, that we're going to be having meeting upon meeting, and we're going to be referring to this topic. So having a page that's just dedicated to those conversations might benefit. So I just wanted to see if the board is
Good
in
idea.
agreement to that.
That sounds
Great
good.
idea.
Yeah, maybe even some of the previous stuff we've had on this, like other studies we've had, thrown it on there too, just so they have
Background.
a little background.
Maybe
so that we have
archive
a full
stuff.
picture.
Just because directing people to different board pages,
Yeah.
board packets is kind of difficult, and when we update, it's probably harder for the public to find.
To your comment, trustee Duffy, we have to keep in mind though that some of these studies done from the public comment are old. The costs are much, much more. You know, there's a danger that people will be looking at 2007 space study, 2012, so on, and then trying to compare it to today's costs. Because that shocked me at first, But then when I went back and realized that these studies are fairly old, costs due.
Be to like, maybe recent or best judgment.
Right, no,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
making that comment.
I agree with that.
All right. There's-
More
Thank you.
expensive than building a house?
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so moving along, we are into staff reports. Does anybody have any questions or comments in regards to the director's report?
I am not sure that this is the time, or we should wait. In your report, Tatiana,
Yes.
regarding the fundraising and the foundation, you mentioned that Kathy Kwitzel might be might come to our meeting in January.
I'm not sure if it will be Ms. Quitzel or another representative or not, but that's a definite possibility.
Okay, I guess I'm okay with that happening and waiting till she does, so we get a better explanation of both organizations. I'm sure she has a history on the foundation and some fundraising activities, friends and so on, right? Somewhere down the road, though, I think the board needs to have a discussion about, depending on what we hear from Ms. Kwisel, about reinstituting the foundation at some point. And there might be even a possibility that we might, no one likes committees, but we might want to formulate a committee to depending on how that goes with Kathy and what we know about the foundation. Because as I understand it, it's no longer functioning.
It's not recognized
It's
by the
not
state.
recognized.
You want to go into your conversations with her?
Well,
We can wait.
Well, I'd like to say something because I did speak with her, and I know that they remain committed to supporting the library. And I know that they are excited about wanting to hear from the board about initiatives that you'd like the foundation to pursue. So when I spoke with her, and we also referenced some other articles. I mean, we talked about some articles we read, some ALA articles, maybe United for Libraries articles. And most of the foundations, whether it's the foundation or the Friends or any other supportive organization, they're looking for a goal or some kind of, like, they want to be a task force. They want to support something and have that goal so that they could either encourage more membership to their organization and or encourage donations for a specific thing. And I know that when I spoke with her, and I put this in my report, is that having and she used the term like a vague goal of support the library or, fund the library, having that very general goal really didn't work for the foundation way back when. So having something like, she had mentioned that back in 2008, the board at the time wanted to fund youth services furniture. And they had a specific goal in mind, and I think it was up to like $15,000. They were trying to fundraise $15,000 for that specific goal. So they had success with that. And I think that's what they're looking for, is for our board to provide those initiatives so that they have a specific target. So I think it would benefit the board to discuss this. And from what I read in different articles, libraries have like a date where they present something to their foundation and say, either it's like January 1st, like calendar year, or at the beginning of their fiscal year, they have a meeting and say, foundation, we would love your support in this project or something like that. So it's kind of what we discussed. So they want your ideas. And they're not, they also will generate their own, of course, and there would be a dialogue there. But if you could provide some ideas, that would be good.
So would they play for next month, whether Kathy's here or not? Should we maybe have an agenda item should discuss ideas?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
For
We have-
foundation and friends, or just the foundation?
Both are fine. I think they would both benefit from hearing.
Yeah, I mean, do you know if there would be any, I'm sorry, do you know if there's any openness to, and I don't know if they have totally different missions, I don't imagine they're not that different, that they could consolidate, maybe just have one group, like a friends or a foundation, or would it?
I can't speak to
Well,
that.
of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
if
think,
not-
well, I
if-
mean, just
yeah,
starting with, do they really have separate missions?
Correct.
You know, figure that out first, and especially before we try to brainstorm on what we'd like them to do. I think it would be helpful if we knew what is the spirit of their organization so that we can,
Yeah.
you know, really
Yeah.
be already in the right frame of how we'd like to utilize them.
Well, the director, I know,
I emailed
yeah,
them
some information.
the missions of
Yeah.
both.
But those are a little dated though, weren't they?
But that's their missions.
Okay.
I mean, that's, some of them were typewritten way back
Most
when.
of them overlap considerably. I don't know if you guys read these.
Okay.
They overlap considerably. And there are examples at libraries where they have combined the two. There's also examples where they're separate. So I think either model works, depending.
And I think it's also worth checking in whether, like I said, the spirit of what they are trying to serve really matches what the language of old even says, to see if that's really current.
I mean, we can't force them to do
Right.
any of that, but I mean, it could be a question to be asked. Did you, I cut you off? or-
No, I'm fine. Great.
One of these, though, is chiseled in stone, okay?
You're being literal.
No, no.
Okay.
I was being
Well, I fell
facetious.
for it because I just watched an episode, I'll save it for later, but
Alright.
there was something
Trustee.
chiseled in stone. About Patrick
I
Swayze.
struggle with these two organizations, not from what they've done in the past. Who's actually on both entities, how they market themselves. I mean, it's not, in my mind, when you go and search for organizations like this, it should be pretty easy to find. And it's a little hard, and that's where, I mean, the last thing from a foundation perspective was 8 years ago. That's where I go, okay, well, you have a mission, you have a vision, you have your own operational efficiencies as an organization. I mean, it's also combined with what we want them to do right now, but how are they gonna align with us from going forward? It's not even just about, we shouldn't have to have a goal for the foundation or the friends, right? Like, it should be, how are you always talking to us, how are we always talking to you? And then through that engagement, you come up with a better alignment. That's where I kind of just struggle with, you know, since we're trustees, Sullivan and I agree, it's like you see some higher functioning entities that operate within Lisle that have raised both serious funds, and that's part of it, but more so to my point, have really engaged the community. And I think that's been the lost opportunity from my point of view for these years, is like, just the loss of engagement has been the biggest problem in my view. So I want to see that when they come, is talk to them, what do you want to do with that kind of stuff?
I mean, it's something we definitely try to address with them going forward. I agree with you, I know probably at least a couple of the organizations you're talking about in town, I know a big part of their revenue is Eyes to the Skies. And I mean, if the Library Foundation got reactivated, or even the Friends, or some consolidation of the two, I mean, I'm sure they'll be able to volunteer for something like Eyes to the Skies, but I don't know if they could, I don't know if the other partners, the other 6 organizations that are, I don't know if they're just gonna let them in as an equal partner, or if they're gonna have to be like a group that, I mean, they could volunteer, they'll get some funds, but maybe not like a full share, not full share, but equal.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to solve that,
Well,
but
correct.
you start somewhere.
No, I 100%
That's
agree,
the
I know,
point.
I'm just following up with Trustee Duffy's comments.
The other thing is, the 3 people listed in this article of incorporation, I get very frustrated. None of them are living, okay? And if you talk to the Friends people, they have over 1,000 people on their list. They think about 10% are alive. That's what they told me.
I mean, it's something we
So,
could,
you know, that's, it's a, to your point, it's gonna be frustrating because the last time I talked to them, they're very comfortable with what they do today. And they feel that it's like about a half a dozen people who do all the work. So they don't wanna take any more on, they don't, last time I talked to them.
yeah, I mean,
I'll piggyback off that and say that kind of supports what the angle I'm trying to come from, which is before we try to direct them how we think they should operate, let's find out how they're operating and work from there.
I mean, we don't wanna overstep our bounds too much with them, and we wanna not come adversarial. We don't burn any bridges. I know there's been, from before my time on the board, or maybe just when I got on the board, I don't know all the particulars, but I thought there was a little bit of an issue between the Friends and the board at the time, right before I got on. So I don't know any details on that. I just, hearsay. So I think one of the things we got to do as a board ourselves is just make sure it's not a contentious relationship. And they are volunteers at the end of the day, so I mean, we got to keep that in mind. And we could, within reason, try to help facilitate a good relationship, and hopefully they grow and get some new blood too in the process. I mean, it's a lot of organizations. There's always looking for new blood.
Well, I've had over, I think it's up to like 12 or 13 people who have approached me who want to volunteer with the Friends, and they have sent in emails that do not get answered.
And I know there's a link on the website.
We did update the link so that it goes to all board members. It used to not. So now, and then we did update that. It used to not go to all board members, but now it does. And well, it has since.
It's about Friends.
Friends
The
board.
Friends, yes. We updated that in the summer. So that shouldn't be a problem any longer.
Well, yeah,
I don't
mean,
know.
They were doing it in
In
like
terms of them receiving the
Yes,
message.
exactly.
May and June, like when I first joined the board, they were real excited, I was talking about it. So they were doing this in May and June and July of 2017. I think, I don't know if they'd still be interested. They might have gone and joined the park district, or a lot of them joined the food pantries as volunteers. They had the time, they wanted to do something for the community.
I agree with Treasurer Norton. Get the operational components down. What is their operational model? And then help them in ways that we can. And then we kind of go from there. I think we all are in agreement that we want better relationships with both of these entities that are more highly engaged within the community and helping support us. Because it's best for everyone involved, in the long run, that everyone's doing this,
So.
And to that point, just in terms of the engagement piece of it, because there has been an obvious kind of slow engagement period. When I was speaking with Ms. Quitzel about that, was the point of bringing up a project or something is when you go out into the community and say, hey, we'd like you to participate as a member of the Friends or as a member of our foundation, to have something to say, this is our goal, would be a good thing. And that's why having the board come up with some goals, maybe looking to our strategic plan and having some general goals for such an organization would be a good starting point.
And I can truly appreciate that. On the other hand, I've gone into businesses and I said, hey, do you want to donate to the library, foundation? And this is before I didn't use, any logo or do anything that would get me in trouble. And they all said yes. So it's like, I can understand that some people are not comfortable going into a business and asking that question. But it's like, I was telling you guys before, and I even found the brochure. This is the lasting legacy. It's a donor wall at the Park District. There are individuals who are willing, individuals and businesses that give between $1,000 and $5,000. Now I have businesses that are willing to say, here's $1,000. I can't take it because the foundation lost its 5013C designation. And it did it because it didn't file its 990 EZ forms for 3 years in a row. So it's kind of like, I can appreciate that they're saying it's really, really hard to fundraise, but unless you have a project to fundraise for. But I can also say that there's evidence that contradicts that.
Well, they could probably, it would take a little work, but they probably could get their tax exempt status back, but that's something that's something they're gonna have to work on, we'll see. So I guess, question for the board, 'cause I think I'm maybe hearing two things. Do we wanna wait till they come back
We can
to us?
kind of do it in parallel.
Or do you wanna
You know what I
come
mean?
up with ideas?
It doesn't hurt for us to brainstorm on our
Okay.
own between this meeting and the next, but
Okay.
it would be nice for them to come to the table sharing more about what we don't know about them that would help us.
So, so I guess we have the director try to reach out to them and see if they could come, but
We
is
will
it?
formally invite them.
Formally invite them,
and see
but in the
if
meantime,
they can-
is everybody okay, maybe like having an agenda item or discussion item next month where we could
Sure.
come with ideas, brainstorm, and try to pare it down or see what we come up with?
Yeah,
All right. Any more questions or comments on Friends or Foundation? And then if not, I'll open up for more questions on the director's report, other questions. Any other questions on the Friends or Foundation? Any other questions on the director's report?
I guess getting back to the foundation, I'm kind of, I don't know how do we account for the $17,000 that they've held on to for how many years? I mean, is that okay? I mean,
Yeah.
how do we,
She's asking about, do you have any follow-up information on the money?
I mean,
that they had?
there is a bank statement saying
Correct,
that they have
yeah.
17,000,
Mhm.
but if they've been holding 17,000, how many years have they been holding it now? I mean,
don't know exactly their.
I'll find it, because I
Yeah.
found the 17 grand on a 990
Yeah.
EZ the last year that they filed it. So I will be able to tell you at least,
Yeah.
it's been over 10 years. So I guess I'm saying, if their foundation has held 17 grand for a 10-year period, and their articles say that they are to give us something every year, and that's in their articles, I guess I would prefer, and this is not a conversation I would want to have in front of them, obviously, but I would prefer for them to give us that 17 grand now. They've held it without giving us anything annually.
I would probably not want to go there, but I'd rather see them reactivate and give that, or have them start with that as a base, and then, so they're not starting from zero, and then grow from there. And then, again, what we come up with and they come up with, we could go forward with. So I don't think that would be a thing. And they could, I don't know what they've been doing with the bank account, I can't speak to that, but since it's not an unclaimed property with the state, it must be in good standing still, so it's still there, and it's not a problem. If they completely
I don't-
abandon it, it would be an unclaimed property.
No, I mean, in my
Yeah, so-
report, it does
yeah.
mention that they did seek legal counsel on
Mhm.
these funds, and that it is legal for this organization to continue to hold these funds. And they are investing, according to Kathy Goodsell, they're reinvesting the funds. But, I think that's a legal question regarding.
That's setting the bar pretty low. I haven't screwed up and the state hasn't taken the funds, so
Well, I can't
because
speak
of
for her, I'm
that.
just letting you know what we talked about.
Well, but what I'm saying is that's setting the bar pretty low. So if the state would have taken the funds, then, you'd say,
I think it's a little
I
bit
don't
of a
know,
leap,
yeah.
though. I
Yeah.
obviously am not versed in the whole architecture here. However, I would be surprised if the board of the LLD has direct authority over
Yeah,
the
we-
foundation
we-
of the
we-
LLD.
we don't.
So
So
it's not really
it's
our
actually-
call,
yeah.
directly. If
No,
there
but
was a
it-
legal issue, so that would be
it's our
different.
call whether or not to allow them to be a foundation using our name.
Well,
That's what, it's our call.
I don't disagree with that, but again, I don't want to come in from starting with an adversarial relationship. I'd rather try to have a good working relationship and get it reactivated and take it from there. So I'm not gonna, I don't want to make it adversarial, especially right out of the box, so.
As long as everybody is open to saying, to evaluating that we have the right people running the foundation. I think just like evaluating the move downtown as an option, we should seriously evaluate whether we've got the right people running the foundation. Because if the people listed have held on to 17 grand for, I'm gonna guess, around 10 years, and they haven't done anything with the foundation for an equal amount of time, can you, I mean, really, if you're evaluating an employee or any volunteer and they haven't done something in 10 years, are they the right people?
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness though, too, I mean, the library board in the past, I don't think is really, I mean, we might have mentioned it or brought it up, the previous boards I'm talking about might have here and there brought it up, but at the end of the day, you know, we didn't have these type of conversations or try to restart these conversations or restart the foundation. And, you know, I mean, I guess I could look at it positively if at least nobody walked off with 17 grand either. So, I mean, it's good too. So.
I just think we shouldn't try to make assumptions about why those funds are sitting where they are. We need to talk to the people who were responsible for the foundation,
Well,
period.
I agree with Trish Norton, again.
I think
Oh.
we should move
I
on.
know.
I appreciate it. I agree with your alignment comment
Yeah.
earlier.
I see the word. Because I think one of our responsibility as a board, after we gather all this information, is that as we do partner, are our partners meeting a basic standard of operational components? Are they adhering to all the legal, because they are using our name. So as long as that's the part of why we need to gather a lot more information on this before going forward.
Yeah. Right, so if there's no other any other questions on other parts of the director's report?
I have a couple, I just have a couple of
additions.
add-ons.
Sure.
I was asked about the volunteering. The volunteering information is on our website under About Us. So if you click the About Us, there's a drop-down and there's a link that says job/volunteering. So there's information there for both adult and youth volunteering. And just a reminder to everybody that we passed our volunteer policy 415 this past August. And that too is on the library's website under the policies link. And I just want to let everybody know that anyone who's approached the adult department regarding volunteering, they've been contacted, and so we're going to highlight volunteer opportunities in our next newsletter now that we're kind of moving out of the holiday season, so that's when we'll have a little bit more time to engage. But the adult application is fillable online, so anyone can just fill it out online, download it to their desktop, and then send it off to the library, and we'll keep them on file. Oh, one last thing. I just wanted to mention our Winter Read kickoff party because it was so great. We had our party last Friday, and over 200 people attended the 2-hour event. And there were also some trustees, so thank you, Secretary Sullivan and President Hummel for coming. And if you don't believe me, you can check out Facebook or Flickr because all of those great pictures are there. And I just want to encourage everybody to sign up for Winter Read if you go to our website. It runs from December 6th through January 6th, and it's available on the programs tab of our website. And then I also want to just especially thank the Lisle High School varsity singers. They were really wonderful, caroling in our Igtrim area by the Christmas tree. We also have some crafts happening in this room. We had a snowball fight upstairs, and it was just a really great time. So kudos to the staff, and then Will's in our audience there for getting a lot of snow on him.
Saw the cleanup.
So it was a really great event. So I just wanted to mention that.
That was actually my comment. Did you guys clean up all that snow? I went up there, I was like, oh my God.
It was crazy.
It
It was really good. And that's all I have.
All right. Nobody else anything else with the director's report, we'll move on to the assistant director's report. Any questions or comment on the assistant director's report? Is the HVAC project
It's on schedule.
on schedule?
3 air handlers are completed, the 4th is in, should be hopefully turned on tomorrow in operation. And then there'll be a couple more days of testing from the crew. One comment that the crew had was how the building and the envelope of the building maintained the temperature during the project, and they were pleased that they thought the patrons were comfortable, staff were comfortable during this time, so.
Yeah, it's been a pretty smooth process. I think the only off-kilter things that have happened is that we've had some interesting smells with the new equipment here and there, but they burn off pretty quickly and then we're back to normal, so lots of welding happening.
Couple things, I had noticed in the facilities, the roof inspection. Did you get a written report for estimates and repairs on that yet?
It just came in the email today, and a couple things that they're looking at are the, as we mentioned, the masonry work on the above-view services on the 2-story part. And around a couple stacks, vent stacks, the roofing material just needs to be there. So I think that
Is that the caulking around the stacks? Is that what you?
no, it would actually be a piece of roofing material to, like, flashing more. And I think it was about $4,000 to do the work.
And then I noticed on the windows, new hand cranks.
Some of them aren't working, some of them are missing.
So, I mean, that's an easy enough, fix to get new ones, isn't it?
I don't know, we're gonna
To get new
inquire.
hand cranks?
I don't know if you could put a new mechanism in there, if it would work. Cause some of them have the cranks, they're just not working, they just spin.
So they're stripped?
Correct.
Great, if there's nothing else, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just for clarification, the meetings with Sikich are happening with you now versus the director, or I'm looking at the right thing, right? So there were 7.
I listed the days that they come, and the days that they come, I devote a lot of my day to be available to them.
Yeah, they're working out of the admin office. They come maybe, is it 2 days out of the month? And so if they have to pull an invoice or something like that, Beth and or Jackie, if she's here, because Jackie's part-time, will do that and help them out.
Do you feel like they're settling in and getting things
Oh, yes.
streamlined
Yes.
and
They're
closer
on
to the
target,
point
they're
where we
on
wanna-
target.
Yeah, they're doing very well. I think there's still some kind of reshuffling of things since our audit, so we're still working those things out.
They
Outside of
called-
that,
We had a telephone call, conference call with them this morning, and talked about what are the payroll things that we have to be aware of for January 1st. Any changes, just 1099s that we send to anyone that's our, performers. So just,
so we're hammering out some things we haven't
Yeah,
yet,
just
but it's going well.
still going through
Right.
first time things.
Right, if there's nothing else with the assistant director's report, we will move on to new business. And the first item is 8A, to approve the per capita grant. Can I get a motion to approve the 2020 public library per capita grant?
So moved.
Moved,
Second.
second. All right,
It's just our annual grant application. This grants program was established to assist public libraries to improve and increase library services within their service areas, and they are awarded to all qualified Illinois public libraries.
questions, comments on the per capita grant?
Do we ever pick out, and this is something that you said earlier, Tatiana, about picking out a specific project. Do we ever pick out a specific project that we might have that grant money go towards?
We do, the grant asks how you want to use the funds. And so in the grant, and I don't have all the categories, they just ask for the categories. They're very specific on how you ask for these things. So I know that last year we were talking about increasing our digital content, which we did, and we will continue to do. But they don't ask for, I mean, we can get specific, and the board is welcome to provide
It
ideas.
did specifically call out programs, summer read,
Right.
kickoff, and
Mhm,
wrap up
mhm,
programming
mhm.
under programs. So,
This is how we spent our money.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
report
oh,
from
that's,
last year.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, sorry, I was
Yeah.
looking for the page that had it, but presuming you would put the same level of detail in the current one.
This is the application, is the pages before it.
The plan uses.
No other questions or
think I know
comments?
so.
Will we have a roll call to
Page 16
approve the
and
motion
then
for
tokens.
preparing the grant?
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swisdom,
Aye.
Marjorie Rotelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. The next item is 8B, acknowledge annual treasurer's report. We don't have to vote, just acknowledge it. And it's in the-
Say it out loud.
Yeah, we're acknowledging the annual treasurer's report.
Right, and this document was prepared by Sikich. It's an annual compilation of our audited numbers and then our annual disbursements. It's a required document, and we deliver this document to the county.
I believe it gets posted in a paper.
Yeah, there's a publication too.
So
That's
we
it.
just acknowledge it.
And you have to
I
sign it.
acknowledge it.
Yeah,
You have to
you
acknowledge
I'm
it.
happy to
This is-
And you have to
acknowledge
sign
it.
it.
Oh, I have to sign it
Trustees-
too.
Yes, you do.
Or is that, we got mixed up?
Both of
Both
us.
acknowledge
It is
it.
No.
both of them.
Both
Yeah,
of
they
us.
both sign.
Okay.
They both sign, because it goes to the county.
All right, next item is 8C, approved 2020 holiday closings. And I have a motion.
I move to approve 2020 holiday closings.
Second.
Second. All right,
Speaks for itself.
any other questions or comments on this? If not, roll call, please.
Emily Swisdom,
Aye.
Marjorie Rotelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Next item is 8D, trustee travel reimbursement for ILA. Can I get a motion to reimburse Vice President Bartelli for $41.08 for travel expenses to the ILA annual conference in Tinley Park?
You change it to 7 cents. I'll do it.
You followed the speed limit, right?
All right.
I will move to reimburse Marjorie Bartelli, Vice President, for $41.08.
I'll second.
Trustee Vice, any questions, comments, or discussion on this item?
Just mention that this is per the Local Government Travel Expense Control Act of 2017, and the board is required to vote on any trustee reimbursements.
Okay.
And we saved money because she picked me up.
All right, roll call, please.
Marjorie Rotelli,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swisdom,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. All right, before I get into opportunity for trustees, I'll just mention that we don't need the executive session. We had nothing to discuss, so we can cross that out.
Great.
So with that, then, opportunity for trustee comments. I will start with trustee Sullivan.
Just a quick question. I know we were talking about, maybe Tatiana, you were gonna do an analysis of database usage at the end of the year by each individual database. Is that still
January,
something?
so we can both
January?
get through December.
That's great. Thank you so much.
All right, trustee Larson.
Stopped in on Friday night and it looked like everybody was having a good time. The carolers were great.
Oh, I didn't see you.
And I snuck in on my way home. So yeah, it was really nice. The kids looked like they're all having a great time. Lots of confetti everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I love to. Trustee Duffy.
Yeah, the comment on space, one of the things I think as we go forward, I'd like to hear from the librarians is I know that a library 15 years from now, it's going to be much different than the library that it's now, and how that impacts space. If you're allocating space to what your current traditional model is to what a futuristic model is much different. And so I think as we don't, not January, clearly we already have 12 items for that next agenda, is to hear from our librarians about what they see from the industry, what they're talking about, because I think that's an opportunity as we kind of go into our future discussions.
We could, I have generally weekly meetings with my department heads, and we're having one tomorrow, so I can mention that, and then maybe we can have a statement in January.
Vice President Bartolini.
I'm good, other than I'd like to wish the trustees and the staff a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Hopefully, I won't see you till after.
Yeah. I'll go next. Same thing, I went there, like, I don't want to repeat myself, but when I went upstairs and saw the confetti, I think it was Beth that said, I go, who's cleaning this off?
Will.
Good job, it was Will. Yeah, so, yeah, and then, you know, I'm looking forward to 2020. When do we start budget discussions? February? More stuff. Well, it'll be action-packed.
You're in the right ballpark,
Is
yeah.
it March? February, March?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, staff start
So-
discussing it in December.
So we got budget, let's say first quarter, we'll start. And then obviously, like I said, the building discussions will be every meeting probably at least next year. So a lot of fun stuff coming, so buckle up. Treasurer Norton.
I guess I don't have any perception as to how many people watch the videos of these meetings after they're posted, but I hope it's a lot better viewership than the people who are able to attend the meetings and come to the meetings. Because what I'd like to say to the people out there who aren't at the meetings is these are very critical decisions that we're teeing up to make, and I really would rather have a deluge of opinions from the public than just a relatively few, very conscientious, very passionate people, often with no consensus to be found whatsoever. You know, if we want to be representatives of the people, it's really hard to be representatives of such a small sample within the population, and of those, only just sort of the extreme views of, no, don't you dare move, that's a stupid idea, to, oh my gosh, this place needs to be bulldozed and we need to go somewhere else. I mean, like, the messages are on ends of the spectrum without a lot of, you know, consensus in the middle. And I'm a fan of popular vote and democracy. So I really, you know, as much as we're going to do everything in our power to gather information to make a strong, good decision about the long-term trajectory of this facility, I don't want to do it without strong feedback from the public along the way. So that's my feedback to them.
Secretary Swistek.
I just want to echo what a great event the Winter Read Party was on Friday night. My whole family was here. Really enjoyed it. We avoided the snowball throw when it was happening, and we hung out in here and had hot cocoa and did the craft. And then once it was done, we went upstairs. And then my youngest decided he wanted to help Mr. Will clean up for a while, so he was really trying to help, which was nice because he doesn't do that at home so much. And we had told ourselves that we would not close the library down on Friday night, and yet I think we left it about 5 to 9. So yeah, it was a really great event, and 2 of my kids have already earned their prize, and they came yesterday and got their mugs and are super excited about it. So So it was a great event, and the singing was great, and glad it was, we got to come.
All right, if nothing else, then can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:20.